Hello, join me on the adventure and welcome to the Mysterious Adventures Podcast. I am your host, Paladino Joey, or Joey Awijan. Mysterious Adventures is available on all of your favorite podcasting apps, and I thank you once and always for downloading and listening to this show. It is a great pleasure to be back on board with you once again today, as we're going to be jumping into something, well, it was kind of an unexpected thing, a spectacular discovery of epic proportions underneath what are called the Giza Pyramids, the three gigantic pyramids in Egypt. Obviously, there's three pyramids that stand out. There's obviously a bunch of pyramids in Egypt. Some were built by people, but there's three that are much larger, and we've always wondered what's the true history behind these. Well, the history is becoming more and more clear that these date probably well before, at very least, the flood of Noah's time, be it the flood was 4,000 or 4,400 years ago, or potentially anywhere to 12 to 13,000 years ago. That's what some people believe. All different kinds of theories. What's it called? Like the Dryas period that happened years ago. So some fascinating things that could lead to that. But officially called the Younger Dryas. I'm always kind of bouncing on that one. But anywhere from 12,900 to 11,700 years ago. That's about that time of that. The Younger Dryas was a period of abrupt and significant cooling that occurred roughly at that time, during around that time. So like a 1,200 year period or so. It was around that time, but people believe that was when the flood took place. So some people believe that, others do not, and I don't know, like some of the math comes out as like about 4,400 years ago, so that all kind of depends, but evidence that you'll hear here is that these pyramids are potentially significantly older. So this is definitely kind of an on-the-fly type of an episode, as kind of, news breaks, and it fits Mysterious Adventures. I talked about it for a significant amount of time on freedom of thought, but again, this fits probably more the criteria of Mysterious Adventures. I mean, this is definitely a mysterious adventure, getting into these pyramids. So during the afternoon, late last week, the third hour of Alex Jones, he had Jay Anderson of Project Unity, which is also on YouTube. It's a podcast and everything, but also on YouTube. And I'm going to put and I better remember one way or another to put a link to the show notes of a video. We're going to hear the audio of the video coming up, at least the part of it that really goes into the details that are insane and fascinating at the end of the day with what was discovered and the technology used to make this discovery as well. So I'll let Jay Anderson describe the actual technology itself. As me, I'm kind of more passing on the news and discussing it with you as well, and giving opinions as to what's really going on here. That's kind of what we're going with here on Mysterious Adventures. More of a kind of opinions and discussion and such, and you're more than welcome to bring in your opinions as well onto this show by emailing into paladinolive@yahoo.com, either an email itself or an audio submission, which is 1,000% welcome on this show. Gerald Sring, formerly of Nebraska, now of South Dakota again, which is where he's originally from, had sent in a few audio submissions in the past to Freedom of Thought. He's more than welcome to do that as well. That's kind of our sister show here on Mysterious Adventures. It's kind of our sister show, you could say. And anybody else out there as well, obviously, is more than welcome to do that. An audio submission is basically, again, you could either use a editing software on your laptop, desktop, or whatever, or your smart device, and send it in to paladinolive@yahoo.com. You can talk for pretty much as long as you want. Otherwise, again, emails, and you're more than welcome to be a guest as well on this show someday, if humanly possible. Again, email me at paladinolive@yahoo.com. So, with no further ado, I'm going to stop rambling and dancing around here and give you the audio of this video, and we'll go from there.
What has just been announced in relation to the pyramids at the Giza Plateau and the plateau itself is so incredible, so awe-inspiring and narrative shattering that I have been sitting here for the last hour trying to wrap my head around the implications of what we were just told. So this is pretty much breaking news because the new findings were announced on the 16th of March at a press conference held by the team who were studying the Great Pyramid of Giza with a non-invasive technology that was first developed by Filippo Bionde and Corrado Malanga, called synthetic aperture radar Doppler tomography. So this was used to explore the internal structure of the Great Pyramid of Giza. And this method leverages the analysis of micro movements typically generated by background seismic activity to achieve a high resolution full 3D tomographic imagery of the pyramid's interior and subsurface components. The recent findings from deploying this technology are nothing short of mind-blowing, because what's been discovered is that there are huge structures coming down from the base of the pyramid deep into the bedrock, in fact over 600 meters deep, which then connects to structures that extend up to 2 kilometers below the surface of the ground. 2 kilometers. Massive internal structures connected to the base of the pyramid and extending deep, deep down. This is what we know so far. Utilizing high-resolution radar images from Capella Space and Umbra, which are 2 private companies that specialize in satellite-based synthetic aperture radar imaging. This has allowed researchers to create a 3D model of the internal structure of the Great Pyramid of Giza. Now, this model has revealed a previously unknown chamber with 5 horizontal levels and a sloping roof, which in of itself is an architectural design unlike any previously documented in the Giza Pyramid. But the most shocking discovery lies beneath the surface, below ground level. Radar tomography has identified vertical cylindrical structures extending for hundreds of meters beneath the pyramid. There are 8 of these cylindrical wells arranged in 2 parallel rows, descending to an astonishing depth of 648 meters. Even more intriguing, at the base of these structures are 2 massive cubic formations measuring approximately 80 meters in diameter. The tomographic data suggests that these are vertical wells with intricate spiral pathways. Now, this design not only implies a functional purpose, but also a level of sophisticated engineering that completely blows the dynastic Egyptian model out of the water. I mean, the pyramid itself was already a massive red flag in the ancient Egyptian historical narrative. But now, with this discovery, I think it's become impossible to say that the Egyptian civilizations that we understand, that we've been taught about, were responsible for building these structures. And it doesn't even end there. The radar analysis extends beneath the entire Giza plateau, revealing interconnected structures beneath not only the Great Pyramid of Giza, but also those of Khufu and Menkaure. The subsurface network reaches down to a staggering depth of approximately 2 kilometers. 2 kilometers. This is not possible, given the standard historical and archaeological narrative given to us about ancient Egypt. Now, I'm hearing that there is more to come. There is a 4-hour presentation that's going to be released by the research team. This is what I'm hearing. That's going to go into every detail of their findings. This has essentially been a strategic release of incredible data ahead of time to get people interested. And I am more interested in this than basically anything else right now.
Well, as I like to say on this show, that was a mouthful, and holy cow. Are you kidding me? It's kind of like we've always suspected there's something much more to these pyramids than meets the eye. You know, like I always talk about Transformers. Heck, you know, I almost ought to make this the slogan of this show, more than meets the eye. But then again, that's Transformers. But yeah, it's like, shoot, you know, I've had enough of the copyright nonsense. Just like, just like an old video game clip, and like music from a video game, and even that's like protected these days. So it's getting harder and harder with that. But yeah, it is more than meets the eye. The pyramids are this is like the definition of more than meets the eye. Like, are you kidding me? And like, as you saw, is the logo of this particular episode. The logo of the show is what it is, and I hope you love it. The kind of like twilight forest with fireflies. I mean, it is gorgeous. That's kind of what Mysterious Adventures is all about. Makes you think, and imagine having a fire pit or whatever in that forest, or campfire or whatever, fire pit or campfire, however you want to go about that. But no, this first started on Alex Jones' third hour, and Jay Anderson went into the fourth hour a bit as well, some more with Alex Jones, and talked about, again, just the details, the opinions and such of how far back this could be, the significance of the other objects there. And Alex Jones also did mention something, and then it's like you look at the images of say there's 5 pyramids there, at least in the view of a lot of these pictures, so there's the 3 huge ones, which, the 3 gigantic pyramids, of course. Then there's this massive sphinx, which of course looks like something that's half human and half something else, which I think does reflect a lot of, it reflects a lot of, what we like to get into here, like a potential chimera type of a creature, where it could be half man, half something else. It could be, maybe it was a cherub that was fallen later on. And I'll get into my thoughts as to what the significance of these huge pyramids were. But then you get the smaller pyramids that are close by that were built by humans, and they look much older and more beat up, which is funny because obviously, again, the much larger pyramids are clearly much, 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 much older than the smaller pyramids that were built by humans, because humans weren't around at the time of the structure of those giant pyramids. As it's my personal belief, and it's my personal belief that these pyramids go back to pre-Adamic times, as in before Adam, and in my opinion, that they go back to Lucifer's kingdom on this planet, Earth. Lucifer's kingdom, yeah, and I don't mean Lucifer the devil at the time. This was, again, before the fall of Lucifer, in my opinion. You'll hear from L.A. Marzulli in his video. He believes that this is pre-flood, that all this was around pre-flood, which again it dates before the Egyptians, because Noah was before the Egyptians, right? So he was before the Egyptians. He had to have been. So obviously, like Mirazam was kind of like the beginning. I believe is how you pronounce the person's name. It was one of the descendants of Ham that kind of was basically like the father of Egypt in a lot of ways in that part of the world. But anyhow, L.A. Marzulli, again, a name that I would love to have on the show someday. He believes that it's pre-flood, not pre-Adamic, and that Nephilim built these massive, massive pyramids along with the massive, even more massive structures beneath the pyramids. When we're talking about 2 kilometers underneath the earth, which is absolutely insane. 2 kilometers underneath the earth. Insane. 8 gigantic spiral well-type structures that go to depths of 2 kilometers underground. Humans can't do that. No chance humans can do that. Now, of course, like a Nephilim, possibly, because obviously it's a giant and they had super abilities and such. But it also could have been the angels in the pre-Adamic days as well. It could have been, again, fallen angels, which would have been, well, still could have been pre-Adamic, potentially. But the earth was without form and void at the time. It was like underwater, basically. And there's also been evidence, scientific proof of multiple floods on the Sphinxes and on the very large pyramids. Multiple floods, huh? Let's see. Well, there was Noah's flood. What else? Oh, the one before Adam. Yeah, because the earth was covered in water. So that's where I kind of come to that conclusion. Now, again, I mean, L.A. Marzulli might be absolutely completely dead on with the potential, like, say, 5,000-ish years ago, like, the days of Jared around there. Could be completely accurate. Absolutely. Absolutely. You don't think a Nephilim could build that? So, of course they could, especially considering the technology given to them by their fathers, the fallen angels, and which can involve like sound vibrations and such, which can levitate like large objects like these building blocks of these massive pyramids. So it's possible either way, but it's my personal belief that, again, that these date back to Lucifer's kingdom even before the fall of Lucifer, because he was here. He was one of the, this was kind of like his, this was like his part of the, this was his area, God was here too, of course. But yeah, that was his area, like around, this planet was his area, and the solar system was his area. A lot of people do believe that as well. In the way dateless past, the pre-Adamic times, be it 30,000 years ago, or who knows, maybe several million years ago. I don't think the pyramids are several million years ago. Again, conversation that you'll hear with Alex Jones and Jay Anderson, that it's approximately around 30,000 years ago, around there, which is, again, realistic, and that does go to the pre-Adamic times. Again, pre-Adamic meaning before Adam, before Genesis 1. So when it comes to that, and also the conversation as to why. What's the why to all of this? Why these gigantic wells? Why these huge structures underneath the pyramids? Power. Power. Powers of the earth, utilizing the elements of the earth in ways that humans today have no knowledge of. Basically impossible for us. Yet at the same time, people have learned possibilities of it, but it's not like you can go out and demonstrate it, because we don't have the technology to demonstrate it. We don't have the technology to utilize these elements. Power, be it like something like an electricity, but maybe much, much more powerful than that. A lot of people saw these pyramids as potential power sources, like a gigantic power plant back in the day. Way back in the, back in its time, that's what they really truly were, not a gigantic tomb. The Egyptians used them as tombs because they were there, and of course the humans built the smaller ones, much smaller structures in the similar area. You could see, again, they look much more beat up and beat to hell because they weren't built as well. There's plenty of beat up, crappy looking houses built in the 1960s that look like they're 100 years old, and they're built in the 60s. And then you see this house in, close to Lake Calhoun or whatever, Bahamay Ska, but Lake Calhoun, locally here in the Twin Cities, built in maybe 1890, and it looks a million times better. So there's a lot of that. It's the quality. It's about the quality. Now again, it's a larger house and this and that, fancier neighborhood. Of course, it's a fancier neighborhood if you're living by a fancy lake in the city, But like the very wealthy part of the city. But similarly. Like, you don't think whether they were fallen yet or not, like depending on the time, the angels, whether they were angels or fallen angels, the Nephilim, whatever, you don't think they were capable of building a much higher quality structure than, say, like a regular person was, 4,000 years ago, 3,500 years ago, maybe like the days of Moses or so. So, yes, I think that these people these beings had a technology and ability that we don't know. We simply are not capable of even today. Another thing, though, that is obviously a huge part of this, and where, again, I continue to emphasize that those pyramids absolutely, well, either be it pre-Adamic or post-Adamic and pre-flood, had to do with Lucifer's kingdom on this earth. Now, again, when people talk about the New World Order, when you hear about the New World Order, what always seems to be the symbol? What's always the symbol? And what even shows up on the $1 bill? What's always there? Every time? The pyramid. A giant pyramid. A giant pyramid with the all-seeing eye on top. And you notice, even on the Great Pyramid, the one in the middle, appears to have, the top seems different. The top is different. It's like lighter. It's kind of more of a golden look to it. Capstone, maybe the all-seeing eye, that type of thing. Once upon a time. Fascinating, isn't it? scary as heck, but fascinating at the same time. See, like the smaller pyramids, just looking at them right now, when I see them here on, I guess it's called the Daily something UK, Daily Co UK, dailymail.com, I guess in the UK. That's at least the image I'm looking at. The smaller pyramids, yeah, they look a lot more like some of those Latino ones in the, in South America. At least they're structured a little differently, but they look really beat up. Like the ones in, say, South America are also in better shape than those. It could be the climate and such, but I mean, they're not even close to the size of the three Great Pyramids. It's almost like Legend of Zelda with the three Triforces, the big three up there. But the one in the middle, the largest of all, it looks to have like a separate like it's like a capstone on top, which again, New World Order, one world government on the dollar bill, but also Illuminati, their logo and everything, the all-seeing eye and the giant capstone, the triangle with the eye in the middle. It all seems to match to me, doesn't it? Like, who is this? It's Lucifer. They're Luciferians. They were Luciferians, and at the time, perhaps in the past, before Lucifer betrayed God, basically, and thought he was going to be God himself, basically, he was going to take over, basically, this was more than likely his kingdom. Either that, or, if this was during the flood, this was the, Lucifer and the Nephilim and all that. Well, the devil, Satan, it wasn't Lucifer anymore. Fallen angels with their children, the Nephilim, trying to rebuild the Lucifer's kingdom, which was pre-Adamic. So was it like them trying to rebuild it with their powers and their secret knowledge and all that, or was this a part of that secret kingdom pre-Adam? So it's all really interesting and fascinating. The history of our Earth is far different than what we know, basically. So it truly is. The Sphinx, again, like I talked about, appears to be like a chimera type of a creature, like half lion, half man, that type of thing. Mostly lion, I'd say, with the head of a man. Or even like it's like mostly lion, but with maybe the mind of a man, or an angel, or whatever. But appears to be a chimera creature. We've all kind of wondered that forever. Heck, it's funny, all these fantasy, like is it a cartoon, a movie, a book, or whatever, they always imagine like aliens and such kind of having like an Egyptian vibe. And it's because, well, maybe some of these fallen angels basically are connected to these symbols and these structures and these monuments that are a part of this whole thing. So it all seems to kind of come together to me at the end of the day, that it's obviously, it's not aliens, it is fallen angel related, the whole thing. And these pyramids clearly have a connection to something much deeper than the pharaohs, than like lost souls, lost bodies, they passed away, whatever, they're mummified, and they're waiting, But also at the same time, why would the Egyptians put them in that area? Possibly maybe they're thinking that technology could be revived, like a Nephilim type of thing where they could heal themselves and come back again, as that was another conversation as well. So, wow, it is, that's kind of the bits and pieces of conversation you can come to when you theorize on not only what these structures were, what they were used for, but also why the Egyptians would kind of, would kind of like bury their kings and such in these places, their rulers in these places. Could be something related to all of it. It could be all kind of related together, but at the same, that maybe they look up to this Ra, because Ra was a fallen angel as well. Think about it. The small G gods, he was probably encouraging them to go there because, yes, this is it right here. This is what it's all about. And that's kind of the conversation you can kind of come to here, and the conclusion I'm coming to with all these different possibilities as to why all of this is connected. Ra, the sun god, which again is like the perfect fit for this part of the world here in the Sahara Desert in Egypt, where obviously there's a heck of a lot of sun, a lot of heat, and the sun can definitely kill you with how powerful it is in that part of the world. God only knows what the climate might have been in the ancient past, pre-Adamic times, but or even in Noah's times. But that's all conversation for another day. It's fascinating. It's fascinating. You theorize, and I don't know. I mean, it's something I want to dig into deeper and deeper as we go forward. The Khafre pyramid is the one that is the main pyramid in the middle. It's kind of like the gigantic one in the middle, the ultimate one that appears to have what looks to be a capstone on top. So, really makes you go. So, as this article reads, the mystery of an underground city beneath Egypt's pyramid deepens as scientists have shared new details about what may lie more than 4,000 feet below the surface. But, part of that is, and even like 4,000 feet, it's well beyond that if you're talking about 2 kilometers. Even though 4,000 feet is almost a mile, but when you're talking 2 kilometers, that's more than a mile. So, one way or another, it's absolutely incredible. Water system, yep. The team used radar pulses to create high-resolution images deep into the ground beneath the structures, the same way sonar radar is used to map the depths of the ocean. While the bombshell claims have been dismissed by other experts as false and exaggerated, the team believes there is an entire hidden world of many structures more than 2,000 feet below the water system. Yep, I mean, it's absolutely nuts. It's absolutely nuts. But before I just kind of go over and over myself and kind of say the same thing more than once or stumble around, it's, like, no matter how you look at it, it is an absolutely fascinating find. And to me, there's no way that this was built by humans. There's just no chance. There's absolutely no chance that this could have been built by humans, no matter how you look at it, at the end of the day. But what's also fascinating is how everybody covered this. This wasn't just like Alex Jones up. Alex Jones talked about it, and then, whatever. You got the Daily, like I said, Daily Mail. Obviously, it's all over YouTube. Daily Times, the Economic Times. What do you have? Like the New York Times, National Geographic, Newsbreak, the New York Post. Yep, I already said Daily Mail, Daily Express. It goes on and on. MSN. It goes on and on. On and on. Even locally, Garage Logic with Joe Suchere talked about it for a little bit. And he thinks it's basically like that it is alien. Like humans couldn't have done it. And I agree with humans couldn't have done it. As for aliens, I don't know about that. But to me, the actual aliens are these fallen angels. These fallen angels and potentially Nephilim creatures, depending on what took place, but which are now disembodied spirits out there on this planet, kind of lingering and bothering and harassing people the way they do. But other than that, the fallen angels, though, which is what I believe most of these alien sightings and alien abductions are, that have been reported all over the planet for many, many generations, that they're actually fallen angels one way or another, or previous civilizations on this planet, lizard men, gray alien type creatures that I think were maybe a previous civilization, pre-Adamic times, like the whole lizard men, or they're chimeras, I guess, but I don't know if they're, I don't know. To me, it fits more like a previous civilization, like when God said, in Genesis, let us make man in our own image. It tells you that he made creatures in different images before that. It tells you, and don't underestimate God as to how many different beings he may have created over the course of time that weren't bad, but they unfortunately betrayed God at a later date because they followed Lucifer, who was their leader on this planet. So that's kind of the conclusions. That's the theories I come to when it comes to a lot of this. It just makes my mind wander. Unfortunately, I might start stumbling on myself because of how many different things there are. Wish I could be having a conversation back and forth with somebody. I think it'd be better. the show would flow a little smoother, I suppose. It might also be a heck of a lot longer, too. But at the end of the day, that's probably where we're going to wrap things up for now. I don't think there's any comments on anything. Instagram, it should be. Just want to make 100% sure here. But again, yep, you could also check out the Freedom of Thought, but it's a much briefer version of this conversation. And of course, I didn't play the audio. I wanted to save it for this episode. Again, I will put a link as long as I remember. In one way or another, I can add it if I forget. So it's on here on Instagram anyway, wherever here is, right? On Instagram, it's Mysterious Adventures 79. On Twitter, it's My Adventures 79 because mysterious doesn't fit, which is a pain, or one way or another, it just doesn't fit, unfortunately. Facebook, you simply have to look it up. And I also put a link in the show description. So unfortunately, it's not like a defined link or a defined name. But yeah, Mysterious Adventures, basically. Hopefully, you should be able to find it on Facebook as well. But it would be great. You can comment, interact with me there. Of course, PaladinoLive@yahoo.com is exciting. It'd be a lot of fun to look at. I also kind of wandered around a bit in this park called Bassett Creek locally. I'll probably talk about this kind of stuff some more in future episodes, like mounds and such. But that park just reeks of like there's at least one or two mounds there. You feel like there's mounds there. Like burial grounds of maybe possibly giants, or maybe it's Native Americans, but even possibly giants. And who knows what's been here. As close as just like a few miles from where I live, which should be pretty fascinating. It's a really interesting park, and it's in Crystal, Minnesota, if you happen to live in Minnesota and the Twin Cities. And it just feels ancient to me, like way back. And obviously the earth is ancient, yes, but there's just something different about that park compared to others. Like sometimes it's a park is just a park. Like maybe the climate is, changed over like thousands of years, not a couple months or a couple decades, but thousands of years because of catastrophic events that took place and sun cycles and such, which is more where I lean to there than to like global warming kind of conversation. No, I usually don't lean in that direction, but that's your opinion, however you stand on that particular topic. So I hope this was interesting for you. I would like to believe it was. It was certainly interesting for me, and it's a conversation that's the door is wide open. We're gonna probably come back to it at a later date. We're gonna return. It'll be like a part 2, or it'll have like a different name or whatever. But we're gonna come back to this conversation again because I'm sure there's more and more things to find out over the course of time. And man, it's crazy. It's fascinating, and it's also frightening as well. Think about the power that was underneath this pyramid and what was possibly being generated. Maybe that capstone and all that. Like, what did it look like and all that? I can't even imagine how different things may have been during that time. Like, it really makes your imagination wander, doesn't it? And that's kind of the whole theme of Mysterious Adventures. Let's just continue to join me on this adventure. Let's go on this adventure together. No doubt about it. A very mysterious one indeed. With that said, take care, and we'll be back soon for another adventure.